Good afternoon, Comms Club. Welcome to another March Matters video. Now today I want to share with you one of the most common pieces of advice that I offer people when they want to improve how clearly they speak and how well or how easily they are understood. And quite often I find myself saying two things to people. Number one, a lot I say slow down with what you're saying, help people have time to catch up. And the second thing I often hear myself say is to avoid having what I call lazy lips. Because lazy lips, I think, are the most annoying thing in the world. And I don't know if you know anybody in your circle of trust that mumbles. Basically, mumblers are a nightmare. They are really hard to hear and understand, and they're really hard to connect to. And often it leads to the people that are listening to the mumblers to become frustrated and just stop trying. Because what we know is that people are at the centre of their own universe. If you make them work too hard to hear or understand you, they will lose interest and move on. And therefore, no matter how genius the thing that you want to share, tell them or advise them to do, at the end of the day, if they have to work hard to hear it or understand it, the power of it will be lost on them. So lazy lips are the sort of lips that don't move when you speak. I know many teenagers and many parents of teenagers who will get cross because they'll ask a question and what they get is this. And you just think, what? Use your lips. Because when you mumble, two things happen. You cut off certain sounds of words, particularly the beginning or the end. And also you look miserable as sin. We know that our smile is the most universal piece of communication that we've got. And actually you can start to build rapport and strengthen relationships with people without actually saying a word when you communicate. If you adopt a smile, then that is going to set you in really good stead for forming good relationships. But it's really hard to smile when your lips are lazy because they tend to stay down here. And it's all in the inactivity of the top lip. I repeat, it's all in the inactivity of the top lip. And when we move our lips to sound out all the syllables of the words, we find that our face is more engaged, our expression is more positive, and it's really easy to move to a position where you're actually smiling through your speech. And I imagine you already know this, but here's a reminder in case you hadn't realised. If you were to listen to someone speaking when they are smiling, you can hear it. You can literally hear it in their voice. And it is a really attractive quality, and the sound is one that we respond really positively to. So my top tip, if you want to be heard and understood in the important conversations that you're having, is use your lips to sound out every syllable of every word. From the words that you use all the time, like your name and basic answers, right through to complicated sentences, phrases, or technical advice or information that you're sharing. Because here's what lazy lips stops you from being able to do. When we hear something for the first time, we don't just automatically suddenly know how we feel about it. Our brain has to do four things with a new piece of information. It has to listen to it. It has to process it to understand what it's just heard. It then has to react to, it reflects on what it's heard so that it knows how to react to it. And lazy lips, they stop that process, because when you are being lazy and mumbling through your words, it's harder to listen to the words that are being said. It's harder, therefore, to process them, and you use up too much time trying to work out what you just heard and process it to understand it, that you run out of time to reflect on it and then react. So when you mumble when you speak, you are denying the person that you're speaking to from having the time that they need to process, reflect and respond to what it is they've just heard. And therefore, sometimes we speak to our kids or we have a conversation with someone and we think that we've got our point across, and then half an hour later, 2 minutes later if you're unlucky, it's clear that they didn't listen to one word of what we were saying because they didn't act on it or they didn't do the thing we asked. I would argue it's less likely to be that they didn't listen. It was that they didn't have time to process what they'd heard because they were working too hard to hear you properly, because maybe you were mumbling or you were speaking so fast you moved through the information. They didn't have the time they need to process it, reflect on it and react. So you actually do people a disservice when you don't use your lips. And recently I was in France on a skiing holiday, and what I noticed was, so my husband's not in this group, but if you know him, don't mention this. So he would love to be fluent in a variety of languages, and bless him, he does practice in advance of any foreign trip we're going on. But when it comes to actually speaking in French, he loses confidence in the moment that he'll be understood. And so he lowers the volume of his voice and sort of mumbles his way through it, hoping that the French person won't actually notice that he's not articulating it properly. The problem is, because he is less confident and therefore his lips become lazy and he mumbles through those words, they really don't have a clue what he's talking about. Whereas I am far less talented in speaking any other language other than English. But what I found was, even if I mispronounced it, if I used my lips and they weren't lazy to sound out every syllable that I thought existed in the French word, then the person that I was speaking to would be able to better guess what it was that I was talking about. And it's not because I'm competent in speaking French. It was that I used all of the communication tools available to me. I made eye contact, I smiled, and my lips were not lazy. And therefore, it kind of goes to illustrate a point. When you are sharing something, especially things that you're not confident about, or you worry about the other person hearing, just know that your lips are a tool and not something that will hamper the communication. So start to challenge yourself to sound out every syllable within every word. Because even when I just said word, it's really easy to say, sound out every syllable and every word. And you sort of just lose the sound of the D. But I want you to hear what I'm saying, process it to understand it, reflect to see how you feel about it, and then respond. So if I don't sound out every syllable, then I'm not giving you the respect that you deserve. So it may, if you are a mumbler, it will feel a little bit awkward, as if you're on your best behaviour as far as communication is concerned, for a little while. But you will soon develop it as a habit, and it is so it's so helpful when you want to be heard and understood. And going back to the first point, one of the earlier points that I made in this video, our lips are also there to create a connection. And so a smile is the most universal form of non-verbal communication that we've got. And you can be anywhere in the world, and a smile will create a set of unspoken words. A smile, when you look at someone and smile, even if you don't hold their eye contact, if you just catch their eye and smile and then look away, it doesn't matter. In that moment, that smile said, hey, I'm kind, I'm approachable. If you say hello to me or talk to me, the chances are I'm going to talk back. I'm happy, and people will gravitate towards the smilers. Now, in our society today, sometimes it's just not normal to smile at people. It's one of my favourite games if I commute into London, because obviously very few people make eye contact anyway, but I love a bit of people watching. And when I am commuting on the rare occasions in and out of London, I will make sure that as I'm looking around, if I make eye contact with someone, before they get to look away and feel awkward about it, I will smile. And people are genuinely terrified. They literally are terrified. They don't know what to do. It's as if it's one step away from mugging them. But actually, they either feel awkward or they're just surprised and then smile back. And it is just that icebreaker. So even if you're in a new job or you're in a situation, a room full of people you don't know and you feel a little bit nervous, just smile, because people will gravitate towards those that smile. And it's another way of making sure, if you try and speak while you're smiling, you'll find that your lips are not lazy and they are sounding out all your words. So this top tip is really a double whammy. So in video number 6, you've got a double whammy: lazy lips and a smile. And again, you know, it's a phrase that lots of people that I've worked with, clients, friends, family, they all know the term lazy lips, and we challenge each other. You know, if I ask one of the kids a question and they're mumbling, I'm saying, I'm sorry, I can't hear, you've got lazy lips, go again. And then they obviously do an eye roll because they're teenagers and that's what they're here to do. But then they do say the sentence clearly. And what I know is when they are out and about in those conversations that matter to them with people that don't know them, whether it's saying their own name slowly and clearly, or whether it's just communicating what it is they want to say, if they don't make people work hard to understand them, the response they get is always more positive. So I leave you with today's tip: avoid lazy lips. Think of them as a muscle. If you don't use them, they will deteriorate. And who wouldn't like to have some smile lines rather than frowning lines on their face as we age and effortlessly move through our life with ease and grace? So anyway, that's my top tip for communication today. I will see you back here tomorrow for more of the same. Okay, bye for now.